This is Conversation Balloons, a podcast of interviews with experts and friends about all things generational. I'm your host, Leah Farish. Hi from Conversation Balloons podcast, brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. We are hosting Mia Wisinski today. Hi, Mia.
Hi.
Were those jazz hands I saw?
Obviously.
She's going to bring her background in theater and motherhood together. She's at that intersection in a wonderful way. And Mia is creator of Playful Parenting, which is a platform to help parents connect with their kids through silliness and playfulness. And she's also the creator of the Silly Moments app, which gives us lots of ideas for ways to lighten up those moments when we maybe don't have it within us and need a little help to do that. So thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
You know, your background in improv and your talent in that is so true to what I have always felt a need for in parenting. So often I've told my kids, as they're older now, when I was raising you, I felt like every day I was improvising. Every day. I don't know why. I never felt like I knew what I was doing.
None of us do. I love that. I love that you tapped into that and can name it, because that is really what it takes, right? It's our first time being a parent. We're all flying by the seat of our pants, and we're lucky to have experts and psychologists and researchers tell us, and influencers give us ideas, but really we all are finding our own way. And That's why improv is the best kept secret for getting through the day with kids, connecting with our kids, and just being able to not take ourselves so seriously, I think.
Uh-huh. Yeah, my son grew up to do improv in Chicago, and he took it to heart that's what it's all about.
Yes.
Would you be willing to share what your own childhood was like? And was it a playful one? Is that where you saw the importance of connecting with family this way?
Yes. My parents, I say this with so much love, are kind of eccentric, hippie, musical theater, musicians, artist type people. And we did our own Saturday Night Live style sketches in the living room just on a regular Tuesday night with fake beards and whoopee cushions and the VHS recorder, the big camera on the tripod, costumes, props, everything. I mean, that was just how we entertained ourselves. And we would, when we'd sit down to watch TV as a family, we'd turn the sound off and we would talk for the characters. We called it Talking, was the name of Who Wants to Play Talking? We still do. Every time we get together, we try to all sit down and do this, and grew up doing theater. But yes, I was actually a pretty introverted, shy child. It wasn't until I went to go major in theater in college and I was like, I'm going to break out of my shell and I'm going to try to be a new person, new clean slate, But yeah. I really felt the most comfortable either on the stage or at home being silly with my family and with my close friends. And so I really learned firsthand that playfulness in a home helps establish a sense of safety, because where people can laugh together and lighten up, there's other important values in a family that need to go into this too. But that is one of the, I think, most overlooked reasons to prioritize playfulness, because it really is the love language of children. It is, on a biological level, when you're laughing, you're releasing tension, your cortisol is going down, everyone's feeling safer and more regulated and more centered.
What really caught my eye on Instagram and brought me to you was seeing how you were enjoying it and how genuine the fun was on both sides of that parent-child relationship, you have cultivated in your kids a wonderful sense of humor. It's so valuable.
Thank you. I'm really glad you said that because I think that as parents, we want to do everything for our kids. And when we hear play, some of us can roll our eyes and just be like, I don't have the energy to play, but I know my kids need it. But actually, we also need it. And when we can make ourselves laugh, amuse ourselves, and kind of just delight in our kids and in our, like, make ourselves laugh, even if it goes over our kid's head, I think that is just being able to enjoy the day with our kids, enjoy our kids and have a good time and have fun. We don't think of it as up there on the priorities, but really our kids will remember the vibe in our house and they'll remember, was mom always cranky and stressed out, or did she laugh freely? Did she dance around the kitchen? Did she, sing silly songs? So it's both. It's for our kids and for ourselves. It goes hand in hand, I think.
But I do want to explore with you and want you to share with my audience some of these wonderful strategies for getting kids going in laughter and lightness when you're in a transition or they're grumpy or they're not relating well to each other. Um, that is what I want you to give us today, is help us with some ideas which seem to be endlessly pouring out of your heart, your playful heart.
Oh,
Um,
yes. I'd be happy to. I'll just kind of try to simplify it for the sake of today. And one of the core underlying themes in the playful approach is a term I learned. I originally learned it in a book called Attachment Play by Aletha Salter, called power reversal play. And that's any kind of playfulness where we assume the role of the fool or the fumbling idiot or and Lawrence Cohen talks about this in his book Playful Parenting. He literally wrote the book, Playful Parenting, and we're scared, we're weak, we're flabbergasted, we're confused, and the kid gets to be the all-knowing, strong, powerful, smug one. And there's millions of ways to do that don't necessarily have to require a lot of physical, silly, vivacious energy. In fact, sometimes it's better to be really dry and sluggish with it. So I'll just give you an example because I learn best through visuals and examples. My husband this past week had to work all day, every day. I mean, from sun up to sundown, he was gone. It was just me and the kids, and they had some kind of weird virus, and we were home and we were stuck at home. And it actually went pretty smoothly. And a lot of that I attribute to we just kept up the playfulness. But one morning when he had to leave for work, they were really sad. And it was like, no, you have to leave again. And then we had to pry them off of him, and he had to leave, and he's feeling sad, and, they're missing him. And they were both just kind of standing there crying and and it wasn't a distressed cry. I want to do this disclaimer that if your kid's really upset and screaming and crying, we can often feel in our gut when it's not appropriate to joke our way out of it and dismiss their feelings. But it was just kind of I could tell that someone needed to shift the mood, and it needed to be me. And so I was like, I can't walk. I can't walk back to the sink. I'm trying to put the dishes away. Help. My legs are stuck. Can someone move them for me? And my son, who's 4, picked up my left leg and he lifted it. And I was like, okay. I was like, oh, move my other one. And my 2-year-old came up and she moved the other one. And then you can't see me right now. I'm moving my legs with my hands. And they moved me all the way back to the kitchen. And I was like, thanks, it's working. Oh, help. And then I got there and I was like, I'm stuck. I need help to get to the couch. And they ran over, and, it just, me being the helpless one and giving them that power was just so funny for them. And of course they know I'm joking, but they love it and they eat it right up. And there's so many ways we can do that throughout the day that don't really take, yes, it took me maybe 10 extra seconds to get to the sink rather than if I had just walked over there myself. But it was
yeah.
so worth that 10 seconds and beyond, because it shifted the mood. It got them out of, this loop they were in of feeling sad. And it's definitely okay to feel sad. Oh, we can't be stuck in it all morning, right?
Mhm.
And I'm trying to think of another one. I was sitting on the couch having coffee Well, I had just like given my kids breakfast and they were sitting down and it was an early morning and I just had sat down to have coffee and my son was in this rut of just like nothing I could do with his yogurt was right. Like everything was wrong. I didn't put enough honey and I put too much honey. And then it wasn't this kind of blueberry he wanted. It was this kind of blueberry. It's not purple enough, you know? Any parent out
Uh-huh.
there is like, yep, I know. And I just sat down and I was like, I am not getting up again. Like I cannot keep like, you know, doing more things to this yogurt. He just needs to eat. And so I was like, I was like, what's going on, buddy? Like, why are you having such a hard time? And he was like, I just miss daddy, you know? And I was
Oh.
like, okay, I know. I really do too. Why don't we let's talk. Let's talk and talk about good things and get our mind off of it. And he was like, I don't want to talk. I want to do a one-word story. And that's our family's favorite game, improv game that I have played with my own family since I was a little kid. And so I love that my kids want to play it now. He doesn't quite grasp the one word part yet, but I'll explain it to anybody who's listening is you tell a story one word at a time, tuning into each other, like you said, going back and forth. So if I say once, you say upon a time there lived a princess named Bartleby Jones.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter. There's no wrong answers. And you just go
Mhm.
with the flow and you see where it goes. Listen, it is always hilarious when you do this with kids. Like you're guaranteed to laugh. You're guaranteed to have potty humor come in there at some point. It's going to be so weird and hilarious, and it's going to get you guys connecting and laughing. If you're out there listening and you're like, oh, I want to try that with my kids, I advise you to start doing every few sentences at a time, taking turns that way and not cutting your kid off. Let them go as long as they want. And then you throw a little something in there. Or maybe they're too timid and you have to tell most of it, but then you pause and let them fill in the blank for like, I need an animal, I need a name. Um, and it is just hands down my very, very favorite playful way that actually doesn't take as much brain power as you think because you're truly collaborating with your kid. You don't actually
Mm.
have to be funny or entertaining at all because your kid is they are the experts on being funny and creative. They are going to give you everything you need, right? You just,
Mhm.
oh, it started raining
Mhm.
bananas. Wow. And then they realized that they were rotten bananas and the town was starting to stink. I don't know where you just go off of whatever they give you. Um, that was another moment that got us through. And then I will tell you one more, and then I'll stop talking because I could ramble about this forever. But one more
Oh,
thing that
no,
was
I want you to.
really helpful. Um, my son has a lot of wild physical energy. He's 4. He is barreling into us all the time. He wants to wrestle, and wrestling is not my jam. Loves to do that with dad, my husband, Steve. He's great at it. He's not a little baby when he gets headbutted. I am. I don't like it. I like really, really, I grew up with a sister. I didn't do the physical roughhousing stuff.
Mhm.
I do like my own version of that with him, but sometimes he really just has like this innate like aggressive energy and he's learned to name that now and he came up to me and he said, Mom, because I he knows now like if he just tackles his little 2-year-old, I'm gonna get mad and triggered because he's hurting my other baby, you know. um and he came up to me and he said, Mom, I'm having hurting energy. He called it. I'm having hurting energy where I just want to hurt someone, but I don't want to. And
Oh,
I said, okay, thank you for telling me
interesting.
before you did this. And I grabbed the couch cushion and I said, let's play the gimme all you, or the is that all you got game. And I make the
Uh,
cushion be like, is that all you got? Come on, show me what you're made of. Like, and wow, and he's like punching the cushion and it doesn't hurt me, but he's really like, whacking it and getting that energy out. There's another game, and I love this so much. I put it on my Silly Moments app called You Are, and I came up with this when I was a theater educator, and I would give the kids, even middle schoolers love this, even the older kids love this. I'd give them really random physical acting prompts, kind of rapid fire to help them warm up in their body. I'm
mhm.
just going to pull one up right now because I don't even have to think about it because I have it right here on the app. Let's see. You are. And my son will come up to me and say, I need some UR prompts. He'll say it like that. And I'll say, okay, here. And I can do this while I'm doing the dishes, right? Tap a button. You are a firefly scared of its own glow in the dark booty every time it lights up. And so he's jumping around the room looking at his booty and like screaming, and then I say, you're a puddle drying up in the hot sun. You're a jackhammer. You're a hippo swinging on a swing at the playground and the swing breaks, and kids love to be the star of the show and act out these prompts and they're doing the silly sounds. I have a sound one too if you need them to like rein in the physical energy. But throwing out all these ideas to just where it doesn't actually take too much from us. Like I'm not always putting on the show. I do sometimes. I'll pretend that my bottom has a mind of its own and it's dragging me around the kitchen. We love that. And that I put on some disco music and I can't stop wiggling and I'm trying to get my body to stop and it won't. And that's really fun for me too, because it loosens, it gets my stress out of my body. But you know, on the times where you really don't have the capacity to do that, just throwing out a connecting prompt to give our kids the stage, give them the floor, let them entertain you. They love making us laugh and being the star of the show. And when we delight in them and when we get to, you know, just enjoy their natural creativity and humor, is really helpful, not just in transitions and grumpiness, but really just to try to prioritize. Let me find a couple moments today to do that. It will literally transform the energy in your house. After about like a week of doing that, I think it starts to become a habit. Kids start to, you know, the more power they can have through play throughout the day and the more agency they have and connection they get, the less connection seeking, you know, attention seeking, whatever you want to call it, behaviors are going to pop up in the other parts of the day. So it really is just all good stuff. There are ways to do it where we don't have to be Mary Poppins around the clock. We can still get down to business and be stern and firm when we need to, when it's really serious. It's not an either or. You know, I know some parents are afraid that being silly and playful, especially when kids are, you know, talking back or whatever, might undermine our authority. But I actually think it's the opposite. I think the more silly and playful and lighthearted we can be, the more they'll understand when we really mean something and we're going out of silly mode and we're in like really serious mode. So I know especially a lot of moms can feel like, oh, I'm not the fun one. I'm the one who comes in and like gets everybody back to business. And I really think we can be both.
We want to take a moment to thank the Herzog Foundation and its growing media network, home to the Conversation Balloons podcast and other incredible faith-focused shows. The foundation is dedicated to strengthening Christian education, helping families, teachers, and entire school communities pass on faith and wisdom from one generation to the next. They do this through free training events, support for new and growing schools, and a media network. Learn more about how the Herzog Foundation is investing in the next generation at herzogfoundation.com.
Well, you know, the one who can crack a joke, the one who has a sense of humor, is the one who has confidence, and quite often, the one who is in control.
Mm.
And
Good point.
I think it's like I'm thinking of the movie The Great Escape. You know, Steve McQueen was the strongest character in that panoply of characters. And what would he do? He would start playing with his baseball. He wasn't cracking jokes, but he was clearly in control of himself and confident. And you know, I had a student when I was teaching high school who was hilarious, and he really was, I have to admit, in control of that classroom much of the time. Literally, at one point, this was back when there were a lot of airline hijackings. That's how old I am. He jumped up, and he was at the back of the classroom. He jumped up and points his hands like this, you know, like he's got a gun, and he had a banana in his hand. He said, "Everyone freeze, I'm taking this classroom to Cuba."
Oh my gosh. How did you respond to that as a teacher?
I just laughed. I just gave that kid everything he wanted.
Oh.
He was great.
Honestly, bananas, listen, they are Raffi wrote that song Banana Phone. They are
Yes.
the perfect, like silly prop. You pick it up, use it as a phone, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
It's just they're so great. They're so great. Even just telling a story about bananas, it's just funny.
Well, yeah. You know, your one-word stories are so great, and we've done that a little bit with great success. And you mentioned on Instagram one-word warnings.
Yes, those are so
And
fun.
those must be hilarious. I haven't tried that. But when I saw it, I thought you meant literally just shout a word, and that's the word, and I thought, wait a minute, like scissors or
That's fun too.
broccoli.
I know. I think the more appropriate title would be a word at a time. I should probably change it, but it's just we've just called it that my whole life so much that it's just kind of stuck. But you and I should try one if you want.
Well, I have this, and I noticed this last night because I went over to uh, help care for some grandkids last night, and I thought I'm gonna try to do some of these things. And you know what, Mia? I felt a fear of failing. I felt afraid of trying to be funny and having them not, and having them just look at me like, huh?
I get it.
I don't want my jokes to fall flat. I don't want my suggestions not to be taken. And it was, I haven't had time to process that, but I think maybe could that be a reason why some parents aren't more lighthearted and fun with their kids, almost a fear of rejection or failure?
Oh, absolutely. And most of us are weaned off of playfulness pretty early on in life. I just am lucky that in my musical theater path, that I chose that it was my job to play pretend for a living. And I'm in this cast full of playful people, and I'm surrounded by people that are willing to be goofy and silly. But, most of us have to kind of button up for the corporate world or school and take ourselves really seriously and put on this mask for society and are afraid to be weird and afraid to be rejected and not be cool. And to that, I say, one, it's I validate you because thank you for being vulnerable enough to share that, because I think that helps other parents realize there's nothing wrong with me. It's of course it hurts to feel like the one that everyone's rolling their eyes at, or,
Mhm.
the kids think they're dumb. But also, I want to say that what a gift to model for our kids. Not being afraid, or, even if you are afraid, doing it anyway, being brave enough is what I'm looking for. Being brave enough to be weird and be silly. And if somebody doesn't think it's funny, you can be like, wow, tough crowd, just let it roll off and let it amuse yourself, and not let it scare you from trying again, because you never know. If you're too scared to try, you never know, you might be missing out on your new favorite lifelong inside joke that's going to come from a game. I have so many inside jokes that wouldn't make sense to anybody, but my family still quotes them because we, my mom and I made up a story about a girl named Martha that hated bananas when I was a little kid, and we still say that, and I'm almost 40. And so just, it's okay to be afraid, but being brave enough to try it anyway is so important, because it shows our kids oh, okay, one day I can be brave enough, especially as they're entering school and they're going to have to start worrying about being cool. And my stepdaughter, who's 10, I was so proud of her because she said that at recess she started teaching some of her friends some of these silly improv games.
Uh-huh.
And I was just yes, yes, this is just the best for this age, because improv inspired games teach us so much about just, you don't have to be the star, you don't have to be funny, but if you're present and you're working off of each other, humor is going to come, creativity is going to come. You can't help it. It's just going to naturally, there's no wrong answers. And some things will be funnier than others, some things will totally flop, and that's okay. What matters is that we're sitting down and we're connecting and we're trying.
Mhm.
So a lot of people think that improv is about being the funniest one in the room, but it's not. It's about being present, like you said before.
Mm. Um, one thing I tried last night, one suggestion, was the, opposite play you called, where I think people used to call it reverse psychology, where,
Yeah.
the kids were getting too loud, they were jumping too wild on the bed, And I said, "Boy, I sure hope nobody starts acting like a cheetah, uh, creeping up on a lion," you know?
How'd it go? Did they do it?
And one of the children ignored me and was too into his jumping on the bed.
Sure.
But another one looked at me like, "Where did that come from?" You know? And then she started going like that, and she went, "Argh," and so it calmed things down for a minute for her, and she was kind of the ringleader of it. So, it was kind of a neat experience, and I like having that strategy in my back pocket a little bit.
Yes, and I love that you brought that up. That's one of the strategies I call playing the opposite, and I feel like it's different. I know people will think of it as reverse psychology, but I think the definition of reverse psychology is more when you really actually do try to kind of trick someone.
Mhm.
But when they're in on the game and it's clearly like, oh, I hope nobody does this, like tries to just sneak up on me and scare me. Like, and if you're doing it in that voice and with that face, it's like they're in on the joke and they're in on it, and it's a connecting thing. And kids just love to do the opposite of what you say and you to get pretend mad and frazzled. Again, it's that
Mhm.
power reversal. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, isn't that teaching them that it's funny to defy you?" Well, no, because I'm never going to say like, "Whatever you do, don't run out into the street. Oh no, I hope you don't run out and play in the
Yeah.
traffic." I'm going to say like,
Ah,
I'm going to be in a totally different mode for that, and they will know the difference, right? This is not a game. I am serious right now. This is a safety thing. So yeah, I love that. I love that you tried it. And, you can always throw out different ones that like are just so irresistible, right? And I think the cheetah one is great. But if they have you can see what energy is in the room, right? If they're jumping around, maybe it's like, I don't know, something that jumps. Okay. I hope nobody starts ribbiting while they're jumping, because I might get really freaked out and think I left the door open and a bunch of frogs came in here, and then I'm going to get really scared. And the key is like, I'm going to get scared, right? And then you have to follow through, because then if they ribbit, it's like, who said that? Oh no.
oh,
Um,
yes. Oh, yes.
so tuning into their energy and trying to go off of that, I think, is a great segue into it. And then you can, slowly be like, take it down a notch each time. And I did this with my son and his friend the other day when they were just being crazy and spitting at each other's faces. And I was like, I hope nobody pretends to be cars. And then I eventually was like, I hope nobody tries to trick me thinking I'm on an airplane while I sit down on this couch and they start bringing me things. And they were bringing
Ah,
me toys. And I was like, this is the life. But it was fun for them too. You can slowly try to take the energy down with the different prompts,
mm.
calm them down that way.
Oh, that's masterful. Yeah, love it. Um, I I interviewed, Julie King. I don't know if you know her work on this show, and, she has a book called How to Talk to Little Kids so they'll
Oh, yes, of
listen.
course.
Yeah, and, she talks about granting a child's wish in fantasy,
Yeah.
and so when they say, "Oh, I wanted pancakes today, I didn't want eggs," and you go, "Oh, I wish we could have pancake. I wish we could have 50 pancakes," and going riffing, and, I thought that's must be the kind of thing you do all the time just so naturally.
Well,
And one thing kids do is riff, and that's improv people have to be able to do, "Let's go there and go even further and then go even further."
yes.
And kids just love that. They just, their imagination, I can't even keep up with them.
I can't either. And you said you must do that so naturally. And the truth is, I think, yes, I might do it naturally than a lot of people because of my dedication to studying this and prioritizing it and making it my whole platform over the last 3 years, when I had this big light bulb and was like, this is the answer. Not enough people are talking about this. But um, it's not always natural. And some days I'm really stuck in like grumpy mom mode, and I'm like, I don't want to be playful right now. And I think it's important to highlight that even if all these experts and these influencers that even when they know better, they don't always do better. We're still over here losing our temper at our kids and being grumpy and grouchy, and then trying to come back to this better version of ourselves that we know is there inside of us. I do love riffing off of like that what if, the would you rather, switching it into like would you rather only be able to eat pancakes all year long for every single meal? Or would you rather have to wear a giant pancake hat every day all year long? And kind of just like taking the subject and like, oh, wow. Now all of a sudden we're visualizing both of those things. And then we're going to talk about it. Well, I don't know. I'd probably get really sick of the pancakes. But on the other hand, it'd be really inconvenient to have to wear that everywhere. And then you're kind of off to the races going off on that tangent. And then you come up with another one. So that's another fun way to kind of redirect the focus on whatever's wrong.
Yeah. And I loved how you suggest about using the TV remote as a clicker to say, okay, let's rewind or let's go into nice mode or something. Your creativity is boundless, Mia, and I'm so delighted you're in the struggle with us to learn how to parent and grandparent with fun.
Yes.
Tell people where they can find you and all these good ideas that you have.
Oh, thanks. Well, if you're on Instagram, I'm pretty active on there. Playful Heart Parenting. So at Playful Heart Parenting. And then if you go on there, the little link up at the top will take you to my website too, but that's just playfulheartparenting.com. So easy to remember. And that has all of my little resources on there, my little apps, my course and my community. We have a community where we're constantly sharing, hey, who has an idea for how to do this? Oh, I have an idea. And so that's really fun. That's our Activate Play Mode course and community. And Famprov, improv games for families. And we teach you how to play those through videos. So lots of good stuff on there if you really want to just get some games to start diving in today and connecting with your kids more. And just there's something there for everybody that's going to be fun, no matter what energy level, or if you think you're theatrical or funny. I promise it'll be fun for everyone.
Well, and we have another episode about the value and fun of children's theater, getting your kids involved. It's called On Stage at This Stage. So my listeners can look at that episode and look up Mia Wisinski for sure with Playful Heart Parenting. This episode was brought to you by the Herzog Foundation, and not all the things said might strike the Herzog Foundation as funny or might comport with their principles and views, but I don't know what would be wrong with what we said. We've had a great time, and I thank you so much for coming on, Mia.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Subscribe and review Conversation Balloons on your favorite podcast platform. Find me at leahfarish.com and on Instagram at LeahFarish.